Round 1 of the Micromax class was held at KILLARNEY Kart Circuit, where a lot of local boys, local Cape Townians, they're dominating the racing for the day. Riza Levy, one of the names to watch out for. They're also looking at one Luvuya Sambudla, putting his name amongst them. Not a local boy, but certainly competitive. One Divya Naidu also was a name to watch out for. Before the time being, Riza Levy losing out to some of the drivers there. We're looking at Muhammad Murat putting his name in around in second place among the RKT boys, with Reece Koersen losing his place going wide. They're having to work his way back up to the front. Luvuya Sambudla, who we mentioned earlier, taking the lead there from Smith. Very nicely done and neat from the young man. But ultimately, Riza Levy proving that he's got the credentials, taking it for the Cape Town boys. And in race 2, Sambudla taking the lead ahead of Koersen. A bit of argy-bargy between Riza Levy there and the young Muhammad Murat. But ultimately, it wasn't over. Riza Levy managed to work his way back up, having to fend off a few riders so he can get to Reece Koersen. But Joshua Smith, local boy, losing his place going wide there and loses out in the ultimate battle for the lead. In the final standings, Riza Levy and Koersen had to battle it out. No holds barred as Reece Koersen loses out and Riza Levy takes the win. Now in race 3, the winner of race 2, Riza Levy, benefited from pole position ahead of Murat as well as Carl Bukes in third place there, who would later be involved in an incident with Naidu as well as Smith, which would leave things much easier for Riza Levy to take the win and a clean sweep as well as a lead at the top of the championship, ahead of his fellow Cape Townian Reece Koersen and Muhammad Murat in third place. Now round 2 was at the CELSO SCRIBANTE Kart Circuit for the Micromax class, and Luvuya Sambudla taking the lead in race 1 ahead of Reece Koersen as well as Joshua Smith. But the ultimate championship leader, Riza Levy, nowhere to be seen in around 5th place for most of the race. One Divya Naidu worked his way up to challenge Luvuya Sambudla, who crumbled under pressure and spun out, getting involved in a crash with Muhammad Murat. And soon after, Carl Bukes would take himself out of contention by spinning out. The wet conditions there proving too much for him. Riza Levy would recover well, overtaking Reece Koersen there for second place, behind one Divya Naidu, who kept his nose clean and secured a win. That win would materialize in benefits, having pole position going into race 2 ahead of Eric Haystack in third place, and in second place Muhammad Murat.
The reason we come back, first of all, is that the season is pretty well regulated in terms of its rules and regulations. The series is tight in terms of technical controls. As long as we enforce and police those in a consistent manner, it's a good series to race. Our team races where the competitors want to go, so we don't tell the competitors what to race. If they choose Rotax, we race Rotax. And yeah, I think it's a good series in terms of rules and regs. And as long as we enforce them, we'll be back.
And that is Muhammad Murat making a clean overtake over his stablemate Caleb Cottrell for the lead. The bright orange helmet would have to settle for second place behind Murat there. And Sambudla will cross the line in third place, but ultimately would incur a nose cone penalty. Divya Naidu would be in a class of his own in race 3, pulling a respectable gap ahead of the likes of Luvuya Sambudla, Smith, as well as Koersen. They had to battle it out there for second place. The gap was just too much opened up by Naidu there. Murat doing well to keep his elbows out and recovering from going on the grass in a bit of a battle there with Smith. Koersen nearly lost out, but ultimately Sambudla was the biggest loser in a spin out. But Divya Naidu was able to take the win and maintain a significant lead, giving him an overall win for the day ahead of Reece Koersen and Caleb Cottrell. Round 3 at the IDUBE Raceway in KZN of the Micromax class saw one Reece Koersen taking the lead in race 1 ahead of Huzair Khan as well as Haystack in third place. Now Sambudla would make a neat overtake ahead of Koersen, who then was demoted to second place there ahead of Khan. But Riza Levy had a lot of answers to make against Sambudla's challenge, ultimately taking first place ahead of him there, being demoted to second. And Reece Koersen in third there, just ahead of Murat. There was a spin out there by Riza Levy, losing out, ultimately forfeiting the win to Luvuya Sambudla, who won it, and in second place was Reece Koersen. Reese Curzon had decent lap times in race 1, and he saw a pole position for race 2, leading it there, but not for long, as Luvuyo Sambudla could come back and take the lead. Some very neat overtaking, the boys keeping it clean in a tight circuit. A lot of a back and forth between the two riders, Reese Curzon and Sambudla there, but Murat able also to keep his name among the top 3, but ultimately Sambudla does it again in first place ahead of Curzon. And you're not seeing triple, it is the same 2 riders again, Luvuyo Sambudla and Reese Curzon, involved in a back and forth battle. Nothing held back between the 2 riders, and then nothing in it again. A 3 for 3 for Luvuyo Sambudla. Very neat driving ahead of Reese Curzon for the day, and in third place was Muhammad Murat. And we came to the final round of the Rotax Max Challenge at Swartkorps, with a seat to play for in the Micro Max class at Sano. The main competitors there, Reese Curzon, Divya Naidu, as well as Riza Levy, who had a bit of a bad run, but in race 1 we saw a lot of back and forth. Riza Levy putting his elbows out around the tight stuff, but ultimately Reese Curzon takes the race 1 win and secures himself a good position going into the rest of the day. When we worked our way up to race 3, it was Curzon again among the big boys. Muhammad Murat there in third place going down into the tunnel, but ultimately Divya Naidu and one Reese Curzon battling back and forth in a very tight part of the circuit at high speed for the Micromax class. But again, Reese Curzon proved to have the goods, taking race 3. And going into race 4, Curzon still maintaining his lead significantly over one Divya Naidu, but Riza Levy was disappointed because in this heat he had no answers to the front men leading, and he could not finish the race the way he wanted to. And overall for that race, it was the winner Divya Naidu taking it there in a 698 Burrell KART. So for the day, Divya Naidu took the honors over Reese Curzon and Riza Levy, but in the championship, Reese Curzon secures himself the win very narrowly ahead of Divya Naidu and Riza Levy.